Greetings and salutations, folks, and welcome once again, as always, to another helping of Mr H's Hot Pot. You join me today for Letters from TV Licensing, Volume 16. Now, as many of you know out there, I haven't done one of these type of videos for quite a while. I haven't done one since about August last year, and the reason for that has been twofold. Number one, I've been taking a bit of time away from YouTube and the camera for personal reasons, and the second reason being that I haven't really had anything to showcase and show you. I've been getting what we used to term as twicers back in the 1980s when we used to collect football stickers. So there's no point doubling up on videos and showing the same letter 2 or 3 times. So I haven't bothered making any videos since then regarding this particular series. However, last month I did receive something a little bit different and something that I've never had from TV licensing before. So I'm going to showcase that for you now. And what I'll do, I will retire to the top left-hand corner of your screen as always, and we'll take a look at that letter now, shall we? Okay, folks, well, assuming that my editing skills are still up to scratch, you should now be able to see me in the top left-hand corner of your screen. And in front of you, you should be able to see a copy of the envelope similar to the one that this particular threatogram arrived in. Now, normally, I don't bother showcasing the envelopes that this junk arrives in, simply because normally they come in 9x6 or 9x4 standard white and brown envelopes. But for some unknown reason, this particular threatogram must be very special because it's arrived in a 9x6 red envelope. Now, other than the fact that it's red, there's no difference between its brown and white counterparts. It has all the stamps in the same place, and it has the address where this junk's sent out from, which is Darlington on the reverse. But I just thought I'd show it you because it's a little bit different and I've never seen one before. So there we have it. It's there for prosperity, so to speak. Anyway, let's take a look at this special threatogram, shall we? Because it must be very special for them to send it out in a red envelope, mustn't it? And as always, still assuming that my editing skills are up to scratch, you should now be able to see a scanned copy of the threatogram that was contained in that red envelope that I showed you a moment ago. Now, in the top left-hand corner of the threatogram, there's a huge blank space. Normally, my address, along with the title, the legal occupier, and a number of QR codes will be dotted around that area. I've redacted all of that for obvious reasons. Over in the top right-hand corner, we have the TV licensing logo, beneath which there is the TV licensing website. Briefly, I'll just state that if you don't really need to go on the TV licensing website, then don't bother. If you want to know why, just flip back to one of my previous volumes of Letters from TV Licensing, and I explain there in more detail why you don't really need to bother going on it unless you really need to do some business with TV licensing. Now, beneath that, you've got the date that this letter was sent out, which is January 2021. I do know that a number of you have reported receiving this particular threatogram in December 2020, but for some unknown reason, mine arrived in January. Maybe I'm just further behind in the saddle to you guys. And the threatogram opens with, "Dear Sir / Madam, as you have not responded to our letters yet, you have left us no alternative but to proceed with the final stages of our investigation. It would look, Hot Potters, like after all this time, they are finally going to wind up their investigation into my address. But we'll see, shall we?" The letter continues with, "An officer has been scheduled to visit," and then there's a blank space again where my address would be. All they've done is they've simply reproduced it from the top left-hand corner of the threatogram and repeated it to make it look like it's being solely targeted to me, when in actual fact it's just one of many mass mail shots that are sent out each and every month. The letter continues with, "To find out if TV is being watched, recorded or downloaded illegally. The officer may visit your property any day of the week, morning or evening. The information below explains the procedure. You may refer to it during a visit from the officer." That's really kind of them, isn't it, Hot Potters, to allow me to refer to this letter when I'm stood in my own home, presumably. It closes with, "Yours faithfully, Scott Robson, Enforcement Manager." And then just to emphasise that this can be cut off and kept, they've made it look like there's a perforated line across the middle of the threatogram. It isn't perforated, it's just a line with a little pair of scissors symbol there so that I could cut along that line and handily stick it to my fridge or something like that. Then in the bottom lower half of the threatogram, we would have the reference number. Now, normally the reference number is up towards the top. It's on the right-hand side, just below the date. But for some reason, they put the reference number halfway down on this particular template. Once again, I've redacted the reference number for obvious reasons. And then it states in bold what you need to know about the enforcement process. We can apply to court for a search warrant to gain access to your property. An officer may interview you under caution in accordance with national criminal law. Anything you say to the officer may be used as evidence in court. You risk a fine of up to £1,000, plus any legal costs and/or compensation you may be ordered to pay. If your property needs a TV licence, you will still need to buy one. Then it just states underneath, in Scotland, Scottish criminal law applies. A report will be sent to the Procurator Fiscal, who will decide on prosecution. Over on the left-hand side, we have a big red circle with visit undertaken by, and then they would have the name of my enforcement division for my area. Please ask for identification. Then we have a reminder of the law in a red box. It is illegal to watch or record live TV programmes on any channel, or to download or watch BBC programmes on iPlayer. Without a TV licence, no matter what device you use, you can still do one of the following. Buy a TV licence at, then there's the TV licensing website, or on, and then there's a telephone number. A colour licence costs £157.50. Let us know you don't need one at, and then there's another subdivision of the TV licensing website to report that if you so wished, or on, and there's a telephone number once again. We may visit to confirm this. Then, as always, it states, please do not write below this line. So, I'm now going to come back to you on the big screen, and we'll take a look at this particular threatogram, and I'll tell you what my thoughts are on it, and I'll go into one or two of those threats in a little bit more detail. So I'll see you in a more when I'm back on the big screen. And as if by magic, here I am back on the big screen with you as promised. So what do I think of this particular threatogram, and more importantly, will it prompt me to contact TV licensing to inform them that I do not require a TV licence? Well, the answer to the second question, as always, is no. I will be ignoring this threatogram just like I've ignored all the previous ones that I've received from them. And in regards to what do I think of it, I don't think very much. It's very reminiscent, both in tone and layout, to a threatogram that was doing the rounds a number of years ago called the What to Expect in Court threatogram, and that was very similar. That placed what you need to know about the enforcement process. They tried to emphasise on that. And we'll go into that in a little bit more detail now, because there's a couple of claims that they make that, on the face of it, are quite scary, such as, we can apply to court for a search warrant to gain access to your property. Now, that is true. They can apply to a court, just as anyone can apply to a court for a search warrant, really. I could apply to a court for a search warrant to gain access to my neighbour's shed. Whether or not the magistrates would grant me a search warrant is another matter. And it's the same with TV licensing. What they need to have before they can get a search warrant, or even apply for one, is at least 2 pieces of evidence that TV is being watched illegally at an address. And those pieces of evidence could be that the person has admitted that they're watching live TV but won't allow them in, or they've seen it for themselves, something like that. That's why it's very important not to say anything to these people, and not let them see anything, really, that they could mistakenly think that you're watching live TV. Once that has happened, they lay that before a magistrate, they swear on oath, and if it's found afterwards that they have been lying, then they can be charged with perjury, just as you could be if you was in court and you lied. So it's very official, you know. There are rules that they have to follow, and they've not stated that, though, but that's the procedure that they should follow if they want a search warrant. So once you look at it in that light, it's not as scary, is it? The other one is that an officer may interview you under caution in accordance with national criminal law. Now, that is true, but the difference is, because you're in your own home when they turn up, if they read you, you know, your rights, and they state that, you know, anything that you say may be taken down and used against you as evidence, you can simply decline to be interviewed. They don't have any powers of arrest, so it's not like when you sat in a police station and a police officer sits you down and he makes you, undertake an interview. They can't force you to do that. You can simply say, I decline to be interviewed, and close the door on them. Also, because it's being done under what they state is national criminal law, which is the Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1984, or PACE for short, what they don't state there is that you have a right to have legal representation. So if you wished to be interviewed by them, which I wouldn't advise, but if you did, you can stop it there and state, I wish to consult legal advice. And that's something else that they don't tell you there. Obviously, anything that you do say can be used against you if it got to court. But once you take a look at these threats and you know the actual rulings behind it, they're not as scary. And that is the reason that I make these videos, Hot Potters. I get asked this question many, many times, especially by people who know the score, they're up to speed. The reason I make these videos is to debunk the little half-truths and the porky pies where possible, and also it's to give the people who aren't up to speed, to give them a little bit of an insight, because we was all green once, Hot Potters, wasn't we? And, I'm no different in that respect, as I'm sure each and every one of you out there was. Anyway, that was Letters from TV Licensing, Volume 16. Like I've said earlier in this video, if I do get a twicer, then I'm not going to showcase it. So if one particular month I don't upload a video, it's simply because I've already received the letter and I've already made a video on it. Right then, folks, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to wrap this video up. So as always, until the next time, from myself, Mr. H, it is bye-bye for now.